Hey everybody. Doesn't that sound nice? Welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Hurley. We'll start off with a little Nat King Cole.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
Okay, I'm not going to turn this into a TikTok where I do a terrible lip sync. This is entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. All right?
And folks dressed up like Eskimos.
So, here we are, installment 3 of 12. The French Hens installment, if you will, of 12 flicks of Christmas. If I'm looking tired, it's because I am. I shouldn't be, but I am. I'm an old man. Last night was quite an interesting movie. It was a Netflix movie called Father Christmas is Back. And it was kind of reminiscent of the first Christmas movie I watched called Mary-in-Laws. Reminiscent, not really in terms of the style. It was kind of wackier than our second movie, The Christmas Bunny, which had a more serious tone. But this one also had an alumnus from the show Cheers, namely Kelsey Grammer. So you get a little Kelsey Grammer. And I don't know, is this better? Is this worse? I'm working on my lighting, guys. Ugh, it's terrible. So unprofessional, but this isn't a professional thing anyway. So Kelsey Grammer's in it, and he plays the character of James Christmas. All right, and this is it's a British production. Thankfully, they were smart enough not to have Kelsey Grammer attempt a British accent. He remained. His character was a British guy who fathered 4 daughters and then took off for America when they were all young. And then now it's 25 years later, and he shows up to Great Britain to be in their lives, and it's kind of a mess. So you got some pretty high power stars here. You got Kelsey Grammer, you got John Cleese, who plays John Christmas, which I'm still trying to figure that one out because you got James Christmas, but Kelsey Grammer, John Christmas, John Cleese, who is not related to Kelsey Grammer at all. He's in fact his rival, sort of. And then you've got, I forgot the woman's name. She's not very famous, but the mother is also named Christmas. And so it gets a little confusing because unless these guys took the woman's name, because they both end up being husbands at different times of this woman, that's a spin on it, though. Logan's like, that happens, I go, extremely rarely. So, especially when you talk about a tradition like Christmas, which is a very traditional tradition. So, I don't know. So that part's weird. It's just quirky little movie. It's, like I say, it's British. Elizabeth Hurley's in it. If you don't remember who she is most famous for being in Austin Powers and being Hugh Grant's wife at one point and a hot supermodel. She still looks great. And then there are other people in the cast who I don't know, mostly British actors and actresses, and there's a lot of fun. I mean, it's goofy though. There are points where some of the editing choices are weird, like just weird, like stupid sound effects in the background of a scene. Reminded me of a horrible movie that Dante loves called Ed. I don't know if any of you remember this movie. It's Matt LeBlanc, talk about some career suicide, which we talked about with Shelley Long in Merry In-Laws. But Matt LeBlanc was in the middle of his friend's years, and he decided to go off and do a movie called Ed, where his main co-star is a chimpanzee that can play baseball. And Dante loves it because there are a lot of fart and burp jokes and a lot of like kazoo sounds and slide whistle sounds, and it's horrific. And there are parts of this movie where it does that. There's also one part near the end where you're supposed to, sometimes you come in on a face for a moment, but you don't come in like this, because look at that. That's just creepy. I don't care how good looking you are. And they did that. And on our 65-inch screen, I'm not bragging, but that's the size of the TV we have. It was fucking weird. It was near the end where the neurotic sister, and of course you have 4 sisters. You got the neurotic sister, you got the lesbian who's way too into the Beatles, and that's all she talks about. You've got the hot older sister, but who has obvious daddy issues. That's Elizabeth Hurley character. Then you got the hot youngest sister who likes to nail everything that moves, and also they all have daddy issues because daddy wasn't around. That's part of the point of the movie. But yeah, so it takes place in Great Britain. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's basically a castle. It's this huge house, and the neurotic one is hosting, and she's got her husband. They haven't had sex in 18 months. I bring that up because it will come up later towards the end of the movie. And one by one, they introduce the characters. Elizabeth Hurley drives up in a Rolls Royce with her new boyfriend, who is black. And what's wonderful about the British is they don't make that care. In fact, he's the most likable character in the movie, really. He and the husband of the neurotic lady are by far the two most likable characters in this movie. I don't know the actor, but he plays Felix. And of course, the big thing about Felix is like, oh, weren't you here with the guy last Christmas? Wasn't a different guy? She's like, every Christmas it's a different guy. And that's her character. She gets around, and she's not good at holding together relationships, and she's very hot, but that's it. That's her character. I mean, that's the oldest sister. I think the second sister is the neurotic one who's hosting all this in her castle. The third sister is the lesbian who's way too into the Beatles, and all it is her dropping Beatles references and her saying "Let it be" or whatever the Beatles said. Any famous little Beatles quip. There's even a scene where she's holding a lemon and like writing on it at a party, and I think that's supposed to be a Yellow Submarine reference, but I don't know. Because this movie's wacky. I will say this, as weird as it is and as stupid as it often is, it's not it is entertaining. I will give it that. It kept Logan and I talking a lot throughout the movie. And then you got, so then, like I said before, the fourth sister is the one who just got back from America and wears leather pants and kind of competes with the oldest sister because the oldest one's really hot. So the youngest one's sleeping with everybody. And ends up that while she was sleeping with everybody in America, she ran into her dad. Didn't sleep with him, thankfully. That would have been a different movie. But Kelsey Grammer's been living in America for the last 25 years. So she somehow runs into him and gets him to come back. Of course, he's got a young, hot wife that's like as old as the second daughter, so that's weird. And then just all these family dynamics happen. There are some pretty funny lines. I'm trying to remember. There was one that I liked where they're toasting, and and they're about to toast. The man of the house is about to toast the second sister's husband who's hosting this thing, and Kelsey Grammer's like, well, may I? And he starts toasting a toast to, and John Cleese goes, oh yeah, leaving your family behind. And it was just kind of funny, or abandoning your daughters. They had some good lines like that, but a lot of it was just weird, and just not that great. The production quality is there. It's definitely there. But like I said, sometimes there's weird sounds where there don't need to be weird sounds. And it's like they tried to stick like maybe 4 different movies into one movie, not just about each of these daughters, but also about different things happening. Like I said earlier, the main I guess she's the main character. I mean, not really. They try to focus on all 4 of these daughters and both of these fathers, and so that's all weird, right? It's hard to make a good movie when you're focusing on at least 6 characters, 7 really, if you can consider the mom. You got 9 characters total. You got 2 kids. You really got 11 characters in this movie. The kids are adorable. I love the little girl. The boy's cute too. They did a great job. I always give a little asterisk to child actors because that's not easy. These kids are new at it, and the daughter's actually quite adorable. She's got a little lisp, and she has a little singing part when they do a nativity play, for the town. It's great. So here's some weird stuff that happens in the film. Let's see. So Kelsey Grammer comes back, like I said, and this disrupts everything, and there's a lot of issues. John Cleese is now the current husband of the woman who is the mother of these 4 daughters. And there are a couple weird scenes with that too. Like there's one scene where she just does this, and John Cleese is like, don't need more than that, and they go and they bang, and it's so weird. There's another scene that's even weirder because there's like a barn off of this castle. They own some animals and stuff, and John Cleese is out there and he's kind of just looking at the horses, and all of a sudden the mom shows up again. There's a woman like around 70, and she shows up and she's got like night I'm gonna call it negligee. It's hard to get turned on by a 70-year-old woman, and she has like, it's very frilly and fluffy, and she starts doing this like she's a bullfighter, and he's like, and he comes running for her, and they go and they bang, and it's such a weird movie, but it is like, I'd rather have weird and interesting than Christmas in Mississippi, which was boring as shit, and 15 minutes in you're like, this is putting me to sleep. This movie will not put you to sleep. It's very weird. So we come to find out that the youngest daughter is not Kelsey Grammer's daughter. It's John Cleese's daughter. So 3 out of the 4 kids are Kelsey's. This 4th child, who's probably got the biggest daddy issues of everyone, is the one who actually had the daddy that was there. And her whole life, she has thought that Kelsey Grammer was her dad. And this was the big secret in the movie. And it kind of messes everybody up, and they get over it. The other big thing that happens in the movie is Elizabeth Hurley, for some reason, takes a pregnancy test while she's on vacation, on Christmas vacation, visiting the rest of her family. And for some other reason, she goes into her sister's room to do this, where they have a bathroom, because this is the biggest house in the world. Like I said, it's basically a castle. And she takes the pregnancy test and then leaves it in the trash can of the sister and husband's bedroom. Remember, they haven't had sex in 18 months. And there's a big scene where she has a little too much to drink, and she kind of like, man, I got a good husband, I need to fuck him. And so she fucks him. Sorry, I'm being a little crass, but that's what happens. And he wakes up, and he goes into the bathroom, and he sees a positive pregnancy test. He's like, well, we haven't had sex in 18 months. So that means she just had sex with somebody, because this sex doesn't take that fast. That's not the way pregnancy works. So he leaves the house and storms out, and he's all pissed off. It all works itself out because it's a Christmas movie. Kelsey Grammer tells him what happened, but nobody could find him for a while, so there's a lot of stress there. It's one of those movies where there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of comedy, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But overall, I was okay with it. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I mean, there are times it's funny watching these movies with Logan, because he's very picky. For a 17-year-old kid, Logan really is picky about production quality and acting and writing, and I love that. I love to think that since he's born of parents that met in a movie theater, maybe that's why some of that somehow got in there, and that's why he's super picky about his entertainment. For the most part, I mean, for movies especially, sometimes he gets on YouTube, I go, what the hell are you watching? Anyway, Dante's the same way. Dante's really into films too, especially animated films. Unfortunately, he likes Ed. So we all have our good things about us. We all have our faults. Anyway, that's my review of Father Christmas is Back. It's on Netflix. Maybe give it a watch. I think it's about actually, it's kind of long. I think it's closer to 2 hours than 90 minutes. There was a point where we stopped it because it was about an hour, maybe an hour 10 in, and we're like, there's still 45 minutes left in this thing. So it is weird. They come to a lot of problems and a lot of resolutions in a hurry. It's very fast paced. It's very British, and it's very unusual, and it's okay. It's not the best thing you're ever going to see, but it's far from the worst. All right, guys, there's my review on Father Christmas is Back. That is installment 3 of the 12 Flicks of Christmas. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.